Most people know Paul Stanley as Kiss's iconic Starchild, but in 1977, something happened backstage that changed the course of his life. After years of wild nights and reckless encounters, he caught an infection that terrified him. The shock was so great that he dropped the chaos almost instantly. He became cautious, disciplined, and focused, a different person overnight. What he caught stayed hidden for decades, but when he finally revealed it, fans understood why he suddenly became so careful with fame, relationships, and his health. The memory still follows him today. Paul Stanley entered the world on January 20, 1952, in New York City, but not as Paul Stanley. His birth name was Stanley Bert Eisen, and he was born with a condition that shaped his entire existence. His right ear never developed. Instead of an ear, there was only a small lump, and without an ear canal, no sound could enter. Doctors diagnosed him with grade 3 microtia, a rare birth condition that affects roughly 1 in 8,000 to 10,000 babies. His parents had no history of anything like it, yet their son grew up hearing only on one side. There was no surround sound, no sense of direction, no full world of music. Even before he understood the word different, he already felt it. He tried to hide the deformity as he grew, letting his hair fall over the right side of his face. But other children still noticed. They called him cruel names like one-eared monster. He was the only Jewish child in a mostly Catholic neighborhood, so the teasing became relentless. School was a daily struggle. He could only hear from one direction, so he often missed lessons. Group activities felt threatening. Teachers didn't know how to help, and his parents didn't know what to do. His mother tried covering his ear with hats and certain hairstyles, which only made him feel more ashamed. His father stayed cold and detached. Paul loved to draw, but the classroom never felt safe. He spent most of his childhood trying to stay invisible. Everything shifted when he was around 11. He joined the school choir, and for the first time, he felt accepted. Singing in harmony and being part of something gave him confidence. He grew his hair out, and the curls became a kind of shield. That small bit of belonging sparked the first real hope of a future. Home wasn't peaceful either. His father dismissed his dream of being a musician, insisting music was only for people who failed at everything else. His mother pushed him harder to hide his ear. Money was tight, the apartments were tiny, and privacy was non-existent. He later said his parents weren't ready to be married or to raise children. Then came his younger sister, Connie, born in 1960. As a teenager, she developed schizophrenia and addiction. Her condition spiraled. She was often hospitalized and became violent and unpredictable. Paul watched helplessly as she slipped away. Decades later, when he had money, he paid for her care and supported her child. Her struggle shaped the man he eventually became, especially the father he chose to be. More secrets lived inside the house. In the early 60s, Paul overheard fights about his father having an affair. Those arguments carved a lifelong distrust in him. He became guarded in relationships, afraid of betrayal. Music became his escape. When he saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, it felt like a door opening. He devoured music from Elvis, Little Richard, Eddie Cochran, and doo-wop groups. Choir gave him stability, but rock gave him purpose. At 14, he bought his first electric guitar, a Silvertone from Sears, for $60 he saved on his own. He practiced up to 6 hours a day in a cold Queens garage, leaning into his left side to hear better. He later realized the way he learned to play, with no stereo hearing, helped shape the signature style and rhythm he became famous for. He entered Manhattan's High School of Music and Art because of his drawing talent, but he frequently skipped classes to work on music. In 1966, he formed his band Post-War Baby Boom and made $10 a gig. Soon he joined Uncle Joe, performing doo-wop and soul songs in Queens bars, earning $25 a night, but rejection followed him everywhere. In 1968, publishers rejected his Beatles-inspired original songs. His father told him he'd end up driving a taxi like his relatives. He worked odd jobs to survive and practiced harder. At 16, he auditioned for a Jimi Hendrix tribute band. They laughed at him, mocked his ear, and dismissed him immediately. He left humiliated, but the moment planted a seed. He needed a persona, a character strong enough to protect him. Years later, that idea became the Starchild. By 1969, he reunited with Uncle Joe and sharpened his voice singing soul songs. His pain, fear, anger, and childhood trauma poured into every note. Then came November 1970. Paul, now 18, walked into a small jam session and met Gene Simmons, still known then as Gene Klein. They shared the same hunger, the same frustration, and even the same cultural background. Something clicked instantly, and within weeks, they were forming a band. Wicked Lester was born, a strange, ambitious experiment with shifting members and a sound that never felt fully defined. They recorded in Electric Lady Studios in 1971, the same studio built by Jimi Hendrix. Their demos mixed rock, pop, and Beatles influences. Epic Records listened, but then demanded guitarist Stephen Coronel be removed. The band agreed, hoping it would help, but the album was shelved anyway. It was a crushing blow, but it taught Paul and Gene what they didn't want. The rejection shaped the foundation of what would later become Kiss. They lived broke in a shabby Manhattan apartment, surviving on $100 a week, writing more than 20 new songs in less than a year. The partnership nearly broke in 1972 during a vicious fight, but Gene admitted something honest. They needed Paul's voice that kept the two together. Then in 1972, Peter Criss answered their ad. His gruff personality and dramatic style pushed them forward. After more setbacks, Casablanca Records finally took a chance on them in 1973. That same year, Paul, Gene, Peter, and Ace Frehley stood in a Hell's Kitchen loft and reinvented themselves. Wicked Lester died, and Kiss was born. Paul designed the sharp SS logo and created the Starchild persona, a symbolic mask forged from years of pain and insecurity. Their first show at the Popcorn Club in January 1973 had fewer than 10 people. They earned $150 total. But something powerful had begun. By late 1973, manager Bill Aucoin entered the picture, promising a record deal within 2 weeks, and he delivered. Casablanca signed them and gave them money for real gear, including Paul's famous flying rig. Their first albums, Kiss, 1974, Hotter Than Hell, 1974, and Dressed to Kill, 1975, built momentum, then came alive. In 1975, the album that changed everything. It went platinum and made Kiss a phenomenon. Destroyer in 1976 pushed them even higher, with Detroit Rock City and a bold cinematic sound. By 1977, Kiss was earning nearly $10 million a year, but behind the fame, the danger was growing. Paul's wild backstage life caught up with him when he contracted an STD on tour. The fear hit him hard. He dropped the reckless lifestyle and became far more focused on songwriting and business. That quiet moment in 1977 became one of the biggest turning points of his life. The late 70s brought success, chaos, and identity crises, from the Marvel blood-mixed comic to the disco-influenced Dynasty. Peter Criss left in 1980, Ace followed soon after, and the band's direction wavered. The Elder, 1981, nearly destroyed them. Eric Carr revived their sound, but his death in 1991 left deep scars. In 1983, Kiss unmasked themselves on MTV, and the reinvention worked. Albums like Lick It Up, Asylum, and Crazy Nights brought new fans. But behind the scenes, Paul carried most of the responsibility while Gene drifted toward acting. The 90s brought conflicts, grunge experiments, and the massive but troubled reunion tour. Members relapsed, got fired, and were replaced by lookalikes. The money was huge, but the soul of the band felt shaken. In 1999, Paul shocked fans by starring as the Phantom in The Phantom of the Opera. Wearing the Phantom's mask helped him confront his lifelong insecurity about his EAR. In 2013, he finally spoke publicly about his microtia, inspiring thousands of kids with facial differences. He began supporting the charity About Face and later donated millions. His 2014 memoir Face the Music became a bestseller, revealing fights, heartbreaks, and regrets he'd carried for years. He continued evolving, launching Soul Station, creating a global restaurant business, supporting veterans, painting multi-million-dollar artwork, and guiding Kiss into their digital avatar future. Kiss's final physical tour ended on December 2, 2023, at Madison Square Garden after 250 shows and more than $300 million in tickets. By 2025, Paul admitted he was exhausted, and heartbreak over Ace Frehley's passing that year made the decision feel final. Even today, Paul remains an artist, creator, philanthropist, and a symbol of reinvention. His childhood pain fueled a legendary career, and his survival story continues to inspire people around the world.